Thank you all for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about how to boost metabolism, sustainable weight loss, and GLP-1. The presentation will be done by my virtual health coach, Ashley Howell. So, Ashley, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. So, like Dr. Ingle said, I am a virtual health coach here at WeCare Frisco. I am a functional medicine and board certified health coach, and I have a degree in nutrition too. So, there's a lot of background for me as far as my education, but I also have a lot of experience as well, working in internal medicine and functional medicine focused practice in the Dallas area for almost 12 years. I really just specialize in trying to investigate root cause of why you can't reach your health goals and then implementing therapeutic lifestyle change in order to help you get there a little bit more faster. Love working with healthcare providers like Dr. Ingalls because that's her passion too. I hope you leave our webinar feeling encouraged, feeling a little more informed, and just feeling empowered to make a positive impact on your health that ultimately is going to make you look better and feel better. Okay, let's get started. What is metabolism? I promise I'm not going to sit you through a microbiology class today. But I do think understanding what metabolism is, at least in general, kind of the overview of it can be helpful. So metabolism, I mean, basically this is just looking at the way your body is converting food into energy, right? This is the energy that we need to sustain life. And I think what's really interesting is that your resting metabolic rate, which is the rate that you're burning calories at rest, is the primary expenditure of our energy. 60 to 75% of our energy is used just for our resting metabolic rate. And that's something I want you to take that fact and just kind of put it in your back pocket or put a pin in it, because we're going to come back to that. There's a lot of things that you can do, in other words, to help support your resting metabolic rate. And ultimately, that is going to help support your metabolism. The other thing I want you to just really think about and put a pin in is the thermic effect of food. That is TEF. TEF is a full 10% of that metabolism picture. And this is literally just the energy that's used to digest, absorb, metabolize our nutrients. And so the kind of food that we're eating is affecting our metabolism. So we're going to come back to that too in just a minute. And then physical activity, and I think this is the primary metabolism piece that we really think of. This is us going to the gym. It's us, moving our bodies and doing all of these active things. But physical activity is just 30% of that metabolism picture. So how do we best impact our metabolism? Yes, physical activity is a piece of it, but we got to get our bodies burning calories more efficiently at rest, and we got to eat food. That's going to support our metabolism too. So what are some metabolism myths? Maybe your mom say this, or maybe you've said this before. I think my metabolism is just broken. Or I think my metabolism is just slow, or my metabolism just doesn't work anymore. Yeah, we think that, but really there's no truth to that at all. Our metabolism can't break. Our bodies are very adaptive. They're really not defective like that. And then it's just genetics. Yeah, genetically, my metabolism is slow. And genetics, can play a role. We can have those sort of familial connections, but lifestyle has a much greater influence on your metabolism. If you feel like taking notes and you want to go read up on this a little bit further, you can look up the science of epigenetics. So yes, we can have genes that sort of set us up to fail, so to speak, but our environment plays such a big role in how our genes are expressed. So you really have more power over some of those bad genes than you think. This next one is one that I lived by. You have to eat less and move more. That's all it is. That's all it takes to lose weight and to, look good, is basically a math formula. Just eat less and move more. Wouldn't it be nice maybe if it was that simple? But most of you guys probably know that is what we were told back in the old days. It is not simply a math formula, and I know a lot of you guys probably already recognize that. There's so much that doesn't that equation doesn't include our biology, our hormones, our stress, our sleep, all of these other things. And so we can't just make our diet a math formula. When I was making my diet like a math formula and literally calculating out how many calories have I eaten and then how many calories have I burned at the gym, that I've never had a more stressful relationship with food than I did back then. And ironically, stress is another thing that can really negatively impact our metabolism. So it really can kind of get you into a vicious cycle and you can end up taking several steps backwards, even just for that reason, when you try to really fit your diet into a math equation. What is the truth? The truth is that health-inducing habits are far more powerful than any like quick fix or extreme program that we could put ourselves into. It's going to be more powerful than the math formula. It's going to be more powerful than just, oh, my genes are just bad. It's going to be more powerful than, oh, I just have a slow metabolism. And that's a big part of what I want to get to with you guys today. What are those sustainable health-inducing habits that you can set up for yourself in order to have that powerful effect on your metabolism? Okay, so what impacts your metabolism? There are so many things, so much more that could be expanded here, but there are a lot of things that impact your metabolism. Age and hormone shifts is one. How many of you guys are starting to head into that menopause stage of life and you're really noticing that your weight is changing and all of the things that you used to do to help improve your weight are not working so well anymore? Yes, so many of us. So yeah, we know that hormone changes can make a big difference. Um, this is really interesting. Lean muscle mass is a key player in your metabolism, right? Because it's metabolically more active than fat. It burns 7 times the calories of fat. So the more muscle we have, the better our metabolism is going to be. The less muscle we have, it's going to negatively impact our metabolism. So that's where we're going to come back in just a minute to what changes our resting metabolic rate. It's our musculature. How do we build muscle so that we can burn more calories at rest? So yes, our lean muscle mass is a big piece of it. Blood sugar regulation is a huge piece of it too, because that really takes into consideration our diet and the kind of foods that we're eating. And so that also kind of goes back to that thermogenic effect of our foods. And then other things, more clinical things like your thyroid function, your adrenal function, those are a big piece of it too. And then of course, stress and sleep and all of these other things are really big key players as well. Okay, so quick fixes. How many of you guys have used a crash diet or like a fad diet? I'll age myself for a minute here. I'd say the first one that I tried was the Slim Fast diet. Yes, Slim Fast. That was part of my math equation diet was, well, I'll live on Slim Fast and Diet Coke and then work out at the gym and I'll get this really big calorie deficit, and lose weight. I probably have never felt worse than when I was doing that. So yeah, crash diets or extreme calorie restriction can really hurt your metabolism. It can lower your resting metabolic rate because it causes muscle loss. It's very, very common for weight to come back. How many of y'all have experienced that too? When I was living on Diet Coke and Slim Fast, I would lose a few pounds and then I'd go celebrate at Taco Bell. And then I'd gain back more weight than I'd lost. So it's a vicious cycle. You always end up gaining that weight back. So what's the answer? The answer is therapeutic lifestyle change. That's long-term healthy lifestyle change that's going to have a positive impact on your overall health, including your body composition and your metabolism. All right, here's the topic of the hour, the topic du jour. GLP-1 medications. We have GLP-1 medications, but GLP-1 is a hormone or a peptide that we actually produce in the gut. I say we produce it in the gut, but we really don't. Our microbiome produces GLP-1 in the gut. And this is a helpful little peptide. It helps to manage our blood sugar by increasing insulin. So it just kind of supports insulin production and really helps to make us feel a little bit more full. It helps with satiety. It does a lot of other positive things. Hence the reason why GLP-1 medications have become so popular, because they're very effective. They work well for all of these reasons. There are a few examples of them: semaglutide, tirzepatide. Those are two really common ones. I'm sure you may have heard of others like Mounjaro and Ozempic and probably Wegovy. There's so many out there now, but they're all basically GLP-1 mimickers. So they do for the body what GLP-1 does for the body. And so, yeah, we tend to lose weight because we feel more satiated. We can maintain blood sugar a little bit better. In fact, originally these medications were prescribed for diabetics only, but now because they've had such a positive impact on weight, they're used for weight loss as well. Some of the meds are a little bit different. Semaglutide, I'd say, is probably one of the first ones that came out. I believe it's the same thing as Ozempic. And tirzepatide is one that came out a little bit later. It's a newer medication. It tends to have fewer side effects. People tend to feel better overall while also seeing the benefits of taking the medication. So I know, Dr. Ingalls, you tend to recommend or prescribe tirzepatide if you've got a patient that's going to take a GLP-1 medication.
Yeah, if I'm going to start them on one, I go towards tirzepatide because they tolerate it better. It works faster. It is a little bit more expensive, but people seem to be willing to pay more to have less side effects, and it works better. So,
yeah. And along those lines, if we look at the benefits and limitations, tirzepatide is going to have fewer limitations as far as those GI side effects that can be really common. You can get simple side effects like nausea, but I've also seen people get gastroparesis from GLP-1 medications. So there can be kind of a wide range of GI side effects that you can get. I want to say this because I think this is a really important thing to keep in mind. GLP-1 medications can help initiate some weight loss, but they're not addressing the root cause of why you have weight gain or why you can't lose weight. With the slight little caveat being, because we produce GLP-1 in the gut, sometimes we can be low in GLP-1 producers in the microbiome. So for that reason, we can be low in GLP-1, and taking the GLP-1 shot is going to help sort of balance that out. The problem is it's still not addressing the reason why you have low GLP-1 producers in the gut either. So it really is something that should be a shorter term intervention when it comes to body composition goals. While weight loss is a really helpful benefit, according to Dr. Mark Hyman, 50% of the weight we lose is muscle loss. And so you're going to see on one of the following slides here, this is a big reason why if you are doing a GLP-1 medication, strength training and protein intake, those are two big parts of the puzzle. It's going to be a big part of the plan when you're on a GLP-1 because remember, if we don't have enough muscle, it's going to affect our resting metabolic rate. So we've got to make sure that we're still getting to the root and the foundation of all of it. Just like those fad diets and things, weight regain can happen when you stop them. If you don't address your day-to-day diet and lifestyle behaviors, if you're using a GLP-1 medication at the same time you're working with a health coach like myself on how to create long-term therapeutic lifestyle change, then you're going to be able to come off of those medications and not see weight come back. The key really is creating long-term life change in order for that to happen. All right. So what do we do? What do we do when we are taking a GLP-1 medication? Just like I said, we got to make sure we're getting plenty of protein. There are some really specific calculations you can use to figure out exactly what amount of protein is going to be perfect for you. But a typical rule of thumb for me, or a window that I use, is anywhere between 80 to 120. And I very much encourage people to use, intuitive eating. If 120 grams is not doable, if it's not realistic for you, then let's figure out what is. But somewhere between that 80 and 120 grams can be really helpful. Strength training at least 3 times a week, and really looking at every muscle group, I think, is also really important too. Dr. Ingalls, do you have any other like specific strength training recommendations?
I mean, any strength training is good, but heavier weights, probably you'll see more results. But I think reformer Pilates is good, but that probably isn't enough. I mean, that's kind of good for toning, but I want people to do more heavier weights at least 2 times a week, and then maybe reformer once or twice a week would be great.
Nice. And again, something is better than nothing, right? We always have our plan A, but plan B, plan C, plan D, these are all valuable plans. It really is all about meeting you guys where you are. And that's, again, a big reason why Dr. Ingalls has Molly and I here, to really help make whatever the plan is implementable, and molded to you. Another real primary thing is just continuing those therapeutic lifestyle changes that are going to optimize your overall health. You're going to see that TLC acronym a lot in the functional medicine world. So just so you know, that's what it is, therapeutic lifestyle change. You could consider it tender loving care as well. So eating those balanced meals, and honestly, to keep your blood sugars nice and stable, sometimes it can help to have small meals throughout the day, but really focusing on your clean, lean proteins, your healthy, more plant-based fats overall, and then those really nice, non-starchy, colorful vegetables. Having a diet that really has that at the core, anybody's gonna lose weight and improve their health. It's just a really good core diet to kind of focus on for anyone. Increasing those fibrous foods and staying hydrated is a big part of the microbiome. What do we do to support those little guys that produce GLP-1? We need to make sure we're giving them the fiber that they need and staying hydrated too. Of course, limiting those processed carbohydrates and sugars. Making sure that you're just moving. It's one thing to have some mindful exercise. It's another thing to just move throughout your day. So do you sit at a desk all day long like me? We have to make sure that we have an alarm. We have something that's going to remind us, hey, I've got to get up and move. There is few things more precious to your health, in my opinion, than sleep. So prioritizing sleep is a big piece of this puzzle as well. And then if you really struggle with sleep, that's where Dr. Ingalls is going to come in really handy. Let's figure out why I can't sleep. But making sure that you've got really good sleep hygiene, good sleep habits is going to be important. And then, of course, managing stress as well. None of us can avoid stress, can we? Wouldn't that be nice if we could just like turn it off? No stress for me today. Unfortunately, that's not possible. So we've got to adopt some behaviors that are going to help our body have the healthiest response to stress that it can have. And those are things that you will talk to your health coach about. All right. What do we need to keep in mind? GLP-1 medications may be good at helping to initiate weight loss, but lifestyle change is going to ensure that it is sustainable. So medications can be helpful in the beginning, but it's lifestyle change that's going to keep you healthy, keep you at a healthy weight long term. So that's something important to keep in mind. The other thing is what do we do to just help support the production of GLP-1? I've kind of mentioned it already, but having a healthcare professional like Dr. Ingalls actually look at your microbiome. Dr. Ingalls, how many times do you see those GLP-1 producers low?
A
I know
lot.
I see them low.
Yeah. Akkermansia is the one that stands out.
Yep.
Mhm.
So looking at that, I think can be really helpful. And then there are some supplements that can really help too, mostly because they really help to support the microbiome. Berberine, prebiotics like inulin and FOS, EGCG is a green tea extract that can also be helpful. And then, like Dr. Ingalls just mentioned, the Akkermansia. There's another bacteria too called Clostridium butyricum. It also is a GLP-1 producer, and you'll see there is a GLP-1 probiotic, I think, that Dr. Ingalls has that has both of those organisms in it, and some of those prebiotics too. So there are some supplements that you can take to help. I don't know about you, Dr. Ingalls, but I know that I have had a great response to some of those probiotics in particular. So a lot of times I'll end up encouraging people to use them if they can't afford the GLP-1 shots. Maybe somebody has been using the GLP-1 shots, but they want to come off of it. So the probiotic can help a lot there too. And then of course, again, just actually doing a test to look at the microbiome, and then replacing what might be low is going to be helpful. Okay. Well, you are in a webinar that's hosted by a functional medicine practice. And you're talking to somebody that's functional medicine certified. These are the tools that we use. This right here is what's going to get to the root of the reason why you might feel like your metabolism is slow or weight loss is stalled, or you may feel like you need that GLP-1 help. Nutrition and health coaching, continuous glucose monitoring, functional medicine or functional lab testing, supplement protocols that can go beyond what I just mentioned for GLP-1 specifically, and then really personalized meal planning and recipes for you. So let's get into it. Nutrition and health coaching. What is that? Functional nutrition is a big part of what I think most of you guys end up looking for when you come to somebody like me or somebody like Molly. You really just want to know what do I need to eat? And in the functional medicine world, any recommendation for a diet is going to be really specific to what's going on with you clinically. So a lot of the functional nutrition that we end up talking about is going to be specific to that. A lot of it's going to be what has Dr. Ingalls recommended, and then how do we make that implementable and realistic for you? But the other really important piece of the puzzle is the health coaching part of this, because that's really what's going to help you set up long-term behavior change. Anybody can do a diet in the short term, right? Hello, Atkins for me. So many other ones. Any of us can do short-term, diet changes, but really the goal is to create some long-term change. Sometimes in the very beginning, when we're using maybe a functional medicine food plan, those can oftentimes seem, restrictive or maybe a little bit overwhelming. The good news is that a lot of times those more restrictive food plans are really used temporarily. They're not meant to be used forever or long-term. They're just meant to be used in the very beginning to address a specific clinical issue. So the health coaching piece is what's really going to help you establish the big picture and what food needs to really look like long term. This is looking at the continuous glucose monitor. When you're looking at that continuous glucose monitor, assessing whether a food is really making you spike. You're looking at how your blood sugars are coming down after you eat. There's sort of a whole formula to it. The Thea app, which I think probably most of you guys are using, is great because it will rate the food. It kind of does all of the hard work for you. And it will actually show you, is this a good choice based on what your blood sugars did afterwards? So I love the Thea app for that reason. Dr. Ingalls, do you want to talk a little bit more about premium members and how you can get yeah, set up with the Thea CGM?
Well, so you do have to, for the CGMs, you have to get it as a prescription from a doctor, or you can get on the platform, the Thea platform. And once you pay for a 12-month subscription, you can go in there and order your sensors whenever you want, and they last about 2 weeks. Um, so if you're interested in it, you can just call us and Sylvia or someone at my office can get you set up. There's also a direct to consumer one called Stelo, Stelo, that I haven't used it myself, but some of my patients choose to do that instead. Um, so there's different options out there, or you can just get the prescription version, the Freestyle Libre that doesn't come with the platform, but I find it's harder to get as much out of it because you're not really tracking your food and getting as much direct feedback. You're just kind of looking at a graph throughout the day, but it's hard to figure out what was spiking you and all that. So I find the Thea app easier to really track what's happening.
Nice. I will say I don't that they just had a recent update that is using AI to analyze the foods that you're documenting in the Thea app, which I think is just, I don't know how accurate it's really going to be, but I think that it's still a starting point. So it's going to be pretty neat to be able to see not only what your blood sugars are doing as you're eating, but also what that macronutrient ratio might look like and total caloric value and all those other fun things. One thing to keep in mind if you are using a continuous glucose monitor is how things like stress, sleep, and exercise also affect your blood sugars. So, a lot of times I'll encourage people to get one, not just to evaluate what their food is doing to their blood sugar, but what their stress is doing to their blood sugar, or their lack of exercise, X, Y, and Z. So, I'd say stress in particular, it can be really fascinating when, you get in your car, you haven't eaten, but suddenly your blood sugar is elevating, just because of the stress of driving. I know for me personally, I would notice a rise in my blood sugar every single time I had a video session with a client or a patient. And I thought that was so funny. Those aren't even bad stressors, but it really does impact your blood sugar. There's so many other things to consider, even outside of what you're eating.
And I'll just say sometimes if I see people have high blood sugar in the mornings on blood work, that could be a sign of sleep apnea because when you're sleeping, if you're not getting enough oxygen, then you release cortisol, which then mobilizes the sugar. And so it can show up as a high fasting blood sugar in the morning. And so that can be a clue that there may have been stressors overnight.
Yeah, really, really great point. So the CGMs can be used in many ways diagnostically. Functional lab testing. It's one of the best parts of seeing a functional medicine healthcare provider. If you really want to get to the root of why can't I lose weight? Why can't I sleep? Why can't I have energy during the day? Why do I have this autoimmune disease? Well, so many whys. And the way functional medicine healthcare provider can really dig deep and uncover the root of it is through lab testing. I would say one of the primary things that I know I tend to look at is gut health, which is quite appropriate for what we've been talking about today. But there's so many other things. I don't know, Dr. Ingalls, what would you say your primary tests tend to be?
I do gut testing a lot. I also like the Dutch test, looking at cortisol and how well they're detoxing their hormones if they're on HRT. Um, I do some genetic testing if someone wants to know what their tendencies are, and then just regular blood work several times a year. Those are kind of my core ones, but if I think they've got infections or something like that, I'll dig a lot deeper into different areas.
Yeah. Awesome. Gut testing, it all starts there. I always tell people that literally it's the center of your body, it's the center of your health. So really doing a deep dive into your gut health is, I think, helpful for anyone, no matter what's going on with you. Okay, let's look at supplements. Supplement protocols are something that we use as well. Keep in mind that any supplement that's being recommended isn't just a generic recommendation. There's always going to be a clinical purpose that's specific to you. So it's one thing to, have that Instagram influencer that you love, or the podcast that you listen to. A lot of times you can hear recommendations for different supplements, but when you're seeing a functional medicine healthcare provider who's looking through all of this information and data on you, then any recommendation that's made is going to be so specific to you. Quality is really important to keep in mind. There's really not a lot of oversight or regulation in the supplement industry. So there's going to be a big difference between, buying your vitamin D at CVS and then buying your vitamin D at a medical practice like WeCare. So, healthcare provider like Dr. Ingalls, or even like myself, we're going to be looking at third-party analysis of the product, the raw materials, white paper analysis, all of these things. Like, we want to be able to see is what's on the label actually in that capsule. And then we also want to know, how efficacious is that? And so we want to see testing. And since there's not a lot of regulation, just in our, government, being able to see some of that third-party information is really important. Sometimes protocols can seem overwhelming. Has anybody felt overwhelmed by a supplement protocol before? Yes. It can be overwhelming. It always starts out that way. So I want to give you guys some encouragement. Supplement protocols, especially if something's popped up in your gut, or we see something that's in your blood work or whatever, and we're trying to sort of balance out or fix what's broken, so to speak. It can seem overwhelming, but a lot of the supplements that are recommended initially aren't long-term supplements. They're supplements that are used to fix an issue. Let's say you have candidiasis, yeast overgrowth or something in the gut, or a parasite, or some kind of bacteria in the gut that's overgrowing. Taking a natural antibiotic via a supplement is going to be something that is used short term. Whereas in the big picture, we're looking at therapeutic lifestyle change to keep you from ever needing to do that again. But initially, it can be kind of a little overwhelming. If you guys ever do feel overly overwhelmed by the supplement protocol, just speak up. We can always sort of prioritize if we need to and say start here, and then we can go to this and then this, if doing everything all at once seems overwhelming to you. Oh, and hey, one of the many perks of being a premium member with WeCare is that you get a 10% discount on supplements, which is great. So not only do you have a doctor that's making sure you've got supplements that are actually efficacious and high quality, but you also are getting a little discount when you're a premium member, which is great. All right, meal planning and recipes. How many of you guys have had to use an IFM food plan? Like the elimination diet or the Candida diet or the low FODMAP diet or any of those. They probably can seem a little overwhelming. I've had to work through a lot of those with WeCare patients and other people. Elimination diet was awesome. It's one of my favorites. I feel like it's a great way to just sort of hit the reset button. But the IFM food plans can come in really handy when we're trying to address something clinical. And they have usually menu and recipe packets, which can come in really handy too. WeCare Health also has a meal planning technology that honestly I haven't used. Dr. Ingalls, have you had any success with the WeCare meal plan?
Yes, it's actually very easy. You just type in what food someone's trying to eliminate, or if they're allergic to something or have an aversion to something, you type in all the things you don't want them to eat. And then you just say, make a meal plan, and they'll create a meal plan without those things.
Yeah.
The only thing it doesn't do is give recipes. So it just kind of gives you ideas of what to eat, but you still have to come up with recipes. But the nice thing about ChatGPT is you could just put in there, I'm trying to make a meal with these foods, show me what to do or whatever, and it'll give you ideas.
100%. That was the next point, was AI technology. Just to test it out, I've actually put in the elimination diet food plan and said, hey, create a menu and recipe, and it was awesome. ChatGPT. So AI technology, use it. Why not? Especially if you do get that meal plan and you think, none of the foods in this recipe packet look really good, very good to me. ChatGPT can really help you out there. And then I'm very excited to share a website that's new to me. It's called nourishingmeals.com. They have menus and recipes for all of the IFM food plans. In addition to all of the IFM food plans, they also just have a wide variety of menus and recipes for specialty diets in general, like gluten-free, dairy-free, X, Y, and Z, paleo, keto, etc. So Nourishing Meals, very good resource. And then Paleo Running Mama has always been one of my favorites. There are a lot of variety of recipes on there, and you can sort of modify what kind of recipes you're looking at too. So paleorunningmama.com is another really, really good one to check out. Okay, key takeaways. Metabolism is adaptable. You're not stuck. You're not stuck with a slow metabolism. There's so many things that you can do in order to improve it. One of the primary things I'm going to encourage you guys to do is just get your musculature healthy. So increasing that protein and making sure that you're doing some strength training, that is what's going to improve your resting metabolic rate. And then don't forget TEF, the thermogenic effect of food. We've got to eat complex foods, not simple processed starchy foods like what we get in the standard American diet at restaurants and fast food chains. We have to eat complex, nutrient-dense foods. Just doing that alone is going to bump up your metabolism because of the thermogenic effect of foods. So eat complex foods. This is a good thing. Those quick fixes can be more harmful than helpful. So find somebody, Dr. Ingalls, a health coach, to help you create sustainable habit changes. GLP-1s, medications, I'd say, are sort of a quick fix, but when used in the short term and in the right way, they can be very helpful. But ultimately, sustainable weight loss is going to come from addressing the root cause of the reason why you're having weight issues in the first place, and using therapeutic lifestyle change to create long-term behavior change. If you feel like you want to jump in and get a little more help, there are a couple of options. If you're a WeCare patient, a premium member, you get 5 45-minute follow-up sessions with either myself or Molly, depending on who did that foundational assessment with you guys. If you're not a premium member, but you're still wanting some health coaching, you can purchase health coaching sessions without being a member. So 30-minute, 45-minute, 1-hour sessions. And there's also a health coaching package too that allows you to purchase 4 45-minute sessions all at one time. So you've got options. You just need to reach out to Sylvia or Janae over at WeCare and get scheduled. If you're not a WeCare patient, and you're coming in just having seen, this on social media or what have you, maybe you and I have just worked together, me, just send me an email at ashley@essentialtlccoaching.com. You can check out my website, social media, and let's just book a discovery call and get you set up through the Essential TLC coaching practice.
Well, a few questions came up that I'm going to go back to. Someone asked, for non-WeCare members, what supplement company do you recommend to purchase supplements from?
That's hard to say. Once you know the lack of industry regulation, it's hard to say, oh, go somewhere, you could always get X, Y, or Z. I do feel like health food stores tend to be that next level.
Mhm.
Um, you can typically get things that are a little higher quality at a health food store. Um, I would not purchase from a drugstore or Costco or Walmart or any of those kinds of places. So if you're not a WeCare member, you're not seeing a functional medicine provider or somebody that has practitioner level supplements, I would say a health food store for the most part is a decent bet.
Yeah. I find places like Sprouts or Whole Foods have pretty knowledgeable people.
100%.
All right. And then there's another question about if you're taking GLP-1 for diabetes, can you still get off of it?
I mean, my answer is I would say yes, but depending on what kind of diabetes you have.
Right. And how, what the hemoglobin A1C is. And it's kind of depends on diet and lifestyle. And if the A1C is coming down into a decent range, yeah, it might take more time. And you might want to transition to something like berberine or something like that before just coming off. Like you wouldn't want to go cold turkey off of it.
Yeah, 100%. Just like, GLP-1 for type 2 diabetes, GLP-1 for obesity, both can be addressed with therapeutic lifestyle change. So just like if you can really establish those healthy behavior changes to get the weight down without needing the GLP-1, same thing for the diabetes too. But just like Dr. Engel said, it's not something you can just cold turkey come off of. You definitely need a doctor that's overseeing all of that for you.
Mhm. All right. Well, thank you, Ashley. That was great. And I wanted to let everyone know we're going to be taking a break from producing webinars for the rest of the summer, but then we're going to move towards more quarterly educational workshops starting October 29th at 6:30 Central will be our next one. And our other health coach, Molly, will be hosting that. And the topic will be about getting ready for the holidays. So later in September, we'll be sending out emails for that registration. So stay tuned for that. And thank you again for attending. And we wish you all a healthy and happy summer. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.